The MLB trade deadline has come to a close, but before we talk about that, we have to talk about the opening days of the Olympics and some silly season news in F1. Of course, wrapping it all up, continuing our preview of the 2024 NFL season. Coming up on the Norse Benchwarmers Podcast.
Welcome back to the Norse Benchwarmers Podcast. I am your host, Colton Smith, here joined by producer Josh Northcutt and co-host Ben Miller, and of course, our director, Garrett Jordan. Wait a minute.
Phil.
Garrett? Phil, what are you doing here? Where's Garrett at? Where'd Garrett go? Phil? Who's directing the podcast now?
Phil, you good, buddy?
I guess we'll just get a lot of looks at me, but so I guess we'll get our director. So hopefully that resolves itself. I saw Gary here at one point. I don't know where he went.
Little creepy, little weird. But,
yeah, it's Norse Benchwarmers Podcast. It's starting to become normal here.
Right.
I mean, you hosted an episode, so
screw you.
But
Garrett's back.
Garrett. Where'd you go? Wait, now where's Phil?
Where's Phil? What's happening?
What's going on? All right, let's just get to the show, boys. How was your weekend or week, whatever?
Not too bad. Just wrapping up summer classes, so that's been my main concern. A lot of papers and finals and blah 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 blah. Boring stuff.
Yeah. For myself, just pretty much just been working as always in a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much my weekend.
I'd ask Garrett, but I have no clue what's going on in the director's room. So we'll just move along to the Olympics, as that's been the big thing. Sports kind of stops, except for baseball and F1, but sports kind of stops for that Olympics, and it's been a fun watch so far. Currently, as I checked this morning, the China and Japan currently leading gold medals, but in terms of all medals, the U.S. leads France with 20. But Josh, I know you got a lot to talk about here, but actually we were going to start with Ben because he brought some news, some local guys that are in the Olympics, and he was going to bring that last week. We didn't get to it, and I want to make sure you get that in today. So who we got?
All right, so for men's soccer, this USA versus New Zealand matchup, obviously USA won 4-1, but Jesse Randall for New Zealand scored their one and only goal, and do you guys know where he came from?
Mm-mm.
No.
He was a former Norse soccer player here.
Oh,
From
really?
Wow, really?
2020 to 2021.
Huh.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, I was watching this game,
Yeah.
and the announcer said he played his collegiate career at Northern Kentucky University, and I had to
Yeah.
back that up to see if that was right, and it was. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
A soccer player from New Zealand. That's absolutely mind-blowing.
Especially considering our. No, I'll go there.
Hey, all positivity here.
Yeah, right.
Positive vibes.
But for men's swimming, we're moving on to Carson Foster, Sycamore High School graduate, won his first Olympic medal, finishing third in the men's 400 meter. So how about that? And for wrestling, Mason Paris, Lawrenceburg High School.
Indiana boy.
Yep, Indiana boy. Yeah, he's doing some wrestling over in Paris. I thought it was really cool just seeing a picture.
Paris.
Yep. He met LeBron, and he even got a shout out from Peyton Manning. So I thought that was really cool. So
That is
overall, it's
awesome.
just really cool to see these guys represent our area really well, and that's one thing I always look forward to in the Olympics every single year.
For sure.
Yep.
Sure. I mentioned him last week. Carlick Jones was another Cincinnati native on the South Sudan team. So technically he's not representing USA, but he is from Cincinnati. Grew up, I believe, mostly in Cincinnati. So I don't know. I like him. I liked him, the showing in that exhibition game. So I had to give him a shout out.
Yeah, so on day one, it was basically all about the swim teams and swimming sports.
Yep.
Katie Ledecky won the bronze in 400 meter freestyle. It's her 11th career Olympic medal. She is now one shy of the tying the women's record. The men's American team won the first gold medal on Saturday. Jack Alexi, Chris Giuliano, Hunter Armstrong, and Caleb Dressel. They won the 4x100 freestyle relay. And then one thing I wanted to bring up, did you guys happen to see what happened to Team Canada in soccer?
No, what happened?
their coach got busted for using
I
a
did see this.
drone.
That's
did.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Using a drone. And what's funny is I didn't see that option in college football 25, and I kind of want that option from now on.
I need that option.
But no, that's absolutely mind-blowing that one coach decided to do that and cost her team 6 points and a potential chance to go to the next round. However, Canada did rebound, and despite losing their head coach due to the drone scandal, they beat France in a 102nd minute goal, which was kind of an upset. They weren't supposed to be able to do that, so
Right.
it was a nice little win there. And then one other thing to just bring up when it came to the Olympics was Team USA's men's gymnast team, made up of Frederick Richard, Brody Malone, Asher Hong, Paul Judah, and Stephen Nedrosik, won the first medal for men's gymnastics in over 16 years.
Wow.
Nedrosik, one man specialist. He is known for the pommel horse. He waited almost 3 hours to do his routine, crushed it,
Yeah.
and the U.S. men took home the bronze.
Heck yeah, man.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's what we love to see over here in the States. I mean, it's been a good start for the U.S. for sure. We still got, another week or so left, right? I mean, we
I
still
think
got
the
a
last
ways.
official day is August the 11th, I
Yes.
believe, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we definitely have some time for sure. So I'm excited to see, obviously men's basketball heating up. I really like watching this Canada team. I found myself watching the Canada team almost as much as the U.S.
I watched them earlier today. I forget who were they playing?
They're playing
at?
Australia.
Australia, yeah,
Yeah.
and that team is fun, but it doesn't matter. Like I said before, Team USA is going to continue to roll, and
I'm gonna say it right now, if there's any team that's gonna beat him, it's gonna be Canada, and it's gonna be because Shea just goes off. I mean, this
Yeah.
dude is on a whole nother level, and you can just tell. It was funny watching him against Greece, just whole nother level in that game.
yeah,
But,
poor Giannis looks like it's going to be
Yep.
done.
I mean,
no medal for him.
he's got Nick. I can't even say his name, but I always remember him in 2K. Callis. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
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 Okay. Well, he's a legend of the sport. I'll throw up there in post. But we're going to move on to another global sport, F1, as some interesting silly season things came after the Belgian Grand Prix. There was the Mercedes penalty that went on there. George Russell won the race, but then got it taken away. So Lewis Hamilton ended up getting it, and that was his eight. What was his on wins?
Second win of the year, right?
Second win of the year. I thought he hit a milestone because of that race, or maybe I'm thinking of the last win.
I think it was Silverstone, I believe.
Silverstone was
it? Was a milestone.
Okay. Yeah, it was the big milestone. Okay. So, anyways, the big news that came out with F1 is Carlos Sainz, kind of the big first. Well, I mean, Lewis Hamilton was the first domino to fall, but it's been kind of silent since then. So now we have Carlos Sainz signing with Williams. This is apparently above Sauber and Audi, who doesn't have a team yet, but is planning on joining a team and was offering him a job. And apparently Alpine was in there as well. And so Sainz now at Williams. Williams has not been the worst team in the field for the first time in a while, so that's interesting. And then you have the dominoes that still need to fall with Mercedes. I honestly thought Sainz would have been a perfect fit for Mercedes. I mean, he's currently fifth in the constructors, or not the constructors, but the drivers' points, doing really anything that you would ask for somebody in that second ride behind Charles Leclerc. I mean, obviously Lewis Hamilton is going to be an upgrade from Sainz, but I think he's got to get another chance at a top level at some point. Williams being a fallback, maybe that opens maybe Mercedes has their eyes on a younger talent that they will eventually, if that doesn't pan out, bring in Sainz for. I don't know, but all I know is I want Sainz to get another shot at the top, because I don't really, outside of a lot of technical issues last year, I don't think he's really deserved to lose his ride at Ferrari.
No, it doesn't make sense to me how. I mean, obviously, it makes sense why he lost his ride, because Lewis Hamilton's Lewis Hamilton. But
Right.
he should be in a better ride. It doesn't make sense to me. And I won't say I'm a huge fan of the sport or craziest fan. I'm one of those American fans who adapted to the Netflix, loved
As
the
am I.
Netflix series,
Yeah.
and was like, okay, I'll start watching F1. And this season's been fun because we're getting different things every single week. It just doesn't make sense why he's not getting a bigger ride.
Yeah.
I mean, where's he at in points?
Fifth in the
Fifth in
drivers
points.
right now. Yeah.
I mean, to go from Ferrari to what was the name of that team again?
Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know too much about Williams though, but
they're bad.
They're bad. They've been kind of bottom of the barrel. Alex Albon has been kind of carrying that team. So it is actually a very talented driver group they have coming up next year. They've both been able to sneak some points. The American guy, here, I have the standings pulled up. Logan Sargent sitting at the bottom of the points here.
Logan Sargent, oh boy.
Has been there for a while. He was kind of rushed up there because we wanted to get an American in there. But, so he's getting replaced by Carlos Sainz. They'll definitely see improvement with that, but it'll be interesting to see how much.
Yeah, that was one thing that was on my mind was if he goes with him departing from Ferrari to this new team, do you feel like they can take a step up was going to be my question earlier.
Williams could take a step up. I could see it. They've got an interesting car where in the past, I'll be honest, I haven't watched as much this year, but in the past they've always had like great straight line speed, but then the corners are just so bad that you can't make up for it. So I don't know how that'll all play out next year, but it'll be interesting. It's definitely shaping up to be, I've talked about it before, but it's shaping up to be an interesting year for F1. We could have 4 teams, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren, all competing for the championship. We don't know which one's going to come out on top. And Red Bull is on a steep decline. In the last race, Verstappen didn't even get a podium. It's been interesting to watch that, and very happy to see the crybaby getting his due. But let's go ahead and move on to the winner's circle here. As Garrett, are you over there? I'll let you start, or whoever's in the director's chair.
I made it back alive.
Okay, he's alive. Okay, all right. Still wondering where Phil went, but
yeah, I can't answer that. I have no idea. So my winner's circle this week is kind of a bit of a cop out, but I don't care. It's my show, our show. I apologize.
Whoa!
It's our show.
It's my show.
It's our show. All right, so my winner's circle choice this week is baseball fans nationwide. It's the trade deadline, perhaps the most exciting day in the baseball's regular season. Who's going to be on your team? Who's not going to be on your team? It's always fun to track these trades, and we're going to be doing that coming up here very shortly. So this is a day I'm always excited about because we always get some of those last-minute blockbuster trades that people really don't expect. So, all around, just a good day for baseball to be paying attention to. And let's go baseball fans.
Congrats, baseball fans. As an NBA fan, NCAA basketball fan, we currently sit in the dead period of life. So I now have to watch baseball fans have the time of their life. But you guys get to watch us have it too. So, but my winner for this week is going to be Jordan Love signing that 4-year, $220 million contract extension with Green Bay after just 1 year under center. That puts him as a tie for the highest player in NFL history, or highest paid player. And is that an overpay? Yes. Did Green Bay have to do this, though? Absolutely.
Can't disagree there.
All right, so my winner's circle this week, I'm going to the TBT basketball tournament. La Familia defeating the Ville 70-61 last night. So big win for these guys, and L's down.
Oh, wow. This guy cannot walk into the city of Louisville.
Blue Nation owns the state of Kentucky.
I mean, that's not saying much anyway.
I mean, your competition's Louisville here, but okay.
But for me, I really had to sit down and think about this, obviously, with the Olympics going on and baseball going on and the TBT and everything else. I really had to think about it. And for me, the winner's circle belongs to the Kent State Golden Flashes.
Here it goes.
Beat Bowling
You
Green.
beat Ball State.
Bowling Green.
Beat Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, led by Garrett. And Ball State led by you. So, again, congratulations to Kent State and team-led Joshua Northcutt on their big wins.
I just hope you guys know this guy leads 8-minute drives on average. I go 8 minutes of letting this guy get little 2-yard runs, 5-yard runs, 2-yard run, 5-yard run, because my defense is a revolving door. We have a 71 overall defense. What am I supposed to do with that?
Stop it.
And then I get the ball, and I don't even know what offense is like anymore. I haven't played offense in 8 minutes. What am I supposed to do? But anyways, sorry, you got me on college football.
That's a lot of
I'll go
copium
over.
I'm hearing.
Garrett, you still have to play me.
I do.
You still have to play me. So we'll see how that goes.
Garrett by 2 scores.
Oh boy.
Is that
I like
what,
that
is that
pick.
what you
I like
think?
that
That's a
pick.
spread.
Is that the spread?
I like that.
Okay,
Let's
we'll
talk
see
some
about
MLB,
that.
please.
Okay, let's go to MLB. Let's start with the Reds recap because, let's get that out of the way. That Rays series started out pretty good, I would say, but did not finish up as good. So, what do you guys think?
Just going back to this, I want to talk specifically about Game 3. Reds, they led 1-0 most of the game. David Bell takes out Hunter Green in the 7th. 8th inning, Cruz comes in, throws out a wild pitch, and then Rays, they tie it up at 1. And since June 15th, Cruz has allowed 12 runs over his last 14 innings. And so the biggest question is, should Green have stayed in the game is my biggest question.
I would have to know the pitch count and the whole situation of that. When it comes to pitchers, especially a young arm like that, you're always a little safe with it. But since you brought up Cruz, I feel like around June 15th is when Garrett decided to call this guy an all-star, and he hasn't done good since. Is that the Garrett jinx?
Appreciate it, Garrett.
It could be. It could
Hey,
be.
I see Phil back
He
there.
where is he? Oh my gosh. That's terrifying.
That's quite terrifying.
That's where he went.
But overall, back to this series, the Reds, they were 13 for 98, 4 runs, 6 walks, 28 strikeouts. And India did not even get a hit. He was 0 for his last 15. And the Reds now are 9-20 in 1-run games. So just this roller coaster season, huh, guys?
Good old roller coaster.
I'm just so sick of it. I'm done. I'm done. I don't even want to talk about this team anymore.
Okay, well, don't look at me because I've been done. I quit after the Tiger series. To be honest, I checked out.
I always try to stay positive when it comes to this team. I was hoping they would try to flip the page after the All-Star break, and so far, it's just not working out so far. Losing 2 out of 3 series.
Yeah, and we're not even in September yet.
Versus bad teams. They're not losing to the good teams. They're losing to bad teams.
Right.
You're losing to a team that's literally selling their talent. And now, it was confirmed basically the Nationals are selling their players too. I hate this franchise.
Yeah.
I hate them so much. And last night, okay, so you know what? Fans pay their hard-earned money. Some people wait years. It's not as much so much like football, but it's still one of those sports you got to save to go. It's not cheap to go to a baseball game anymore. Benching Elly De Cruz last night after 8 days of baseball with an off day coming on Thursday, and they had an off day last week. If David Bell is not
Sounds
fired,
like a manager decision to me.
if David Bell is not fired at the end of this year, I'm going to absolutely lose my mind.
I've said that for a couple of years now.
I miss this.
Yep.
Give me more of
I
this.
think we all do, Garrett.
We all miss
Give me more of that.
Man,
Has
got me reminiscing.
there even been rumors that they're going to get Bell out of Cincinnati after the season?
I feel like we never get any rumors out of the Reds camp, really.
No, they're the ones who broke a trade yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and just throw the 2 trades that they made last night, if that's okay.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
The Reds acquired infielder Ty France and cash from the Mariners for catcher Andrews Salado, and then later on, Salcido, and then later on traded Frankie Montas to division rival Milwaukee Brewers, for outfielder Joey Weimer and pitcher Jacob Junis. I kind of like that second deal. I'm going to talk more about that one than the first one. I do like the Brewers deal because, one, Jacob has experience, has control. That if you're not ready to bring up Rhett Lauder and Burns next year to enter the rotation right away, Junis can be a solid 4th, 5th guy. He's 4-0 on the year, which wins are overrated when it comes to starting pitching nowadays. but he's a solid arm piece that also, I believe, has experience in the bullpen. So that's not so bad. And then Weimer is a guy who can play all three positions and is actually one of the best defensive outfielders in baseball. Last time I checked, the Reds don't do defense well in the outfield. The Reds don't do defense well in the infield. But that should help. So I see nothing wrong with that move, and it doesn't excite me, but it's one of those things it's a cool story. Also, you're bringing back a Bearcat.
Yeah, I mean, as a not super in-depth MLB fan, but as a Reds fan, I saw that two of the needs that we have talked about on this show, outfield and pitching depth, were addressed. I was somewhat pleased with that. I didn't know whether they were actually good pieces. I like what I heard from you on that, so hopefully those all do work out.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that Frankie Montas is going to Milwaukee because I feel like we can all agree he's been inconsistent all season.
This is true.
I mean, he's had a record of 4-8 with a 5.01 ERA, allowing 93 hits and 14 home runs. So, with the right-hand pitcher Jacob Yunez, he has an ERA of 2.42, 5 walks and 19 strikeouts. So, I feel like this is going to be a great addition to the Reds' pitching. I mean, but for the most part, we all can agree it's been mostly Hunter Green, but I feel like with this guy coming in, I feel like he can be beneficial help to the pitching staff. So I'm just excited to see what this guy has in store. And along with the outfield, signing Joey Weimer, I feel like this guy, he's going to be really, really good, especially with that help in the outfield. So that's something that they've been struggling with all year. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm just excited to see if they can try to flip the page around.
However,
Yeah, I just want to jump in here really quick on this trade. I like the trade, but it's definitely a bit of a gamble of a trade, which I think if you're the Reds, you kind of have to gamble at this point, at the point that you're at in this season. Joey Weimer was sent down by the Brewers, I think, in like mid-April or mid-May, I want to say.
Yeah, only played 19 games.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so since he's been sent down, he's been like a league average hitter in the minors, and he doesn't really hit for pop. I think he has like 3 home runs total since being sent down. But he, like Josh, like you said earlier, he's very good in the outfield. So that outfield defense is going to help. And then Jacob Junis is also, I think he pitched 1 game before he went on the 60-day IL. So I think those 4 starts, he was just off the IL. So the Reds are taking a bit of a chance on him as well. But again, at this point in the season, I think you kind of have to. So that's sort of my opinion on those trades.
But they weren't the only ones to make a move.
Yeah.
The Mariners have now made some moves, which I think there it is. He's happy. He's happy.
Oh, look at that smile.
Garrett,
I haven't seen him smile in weeks.
The Mariners added some bats, which you requested, with Randy Arozarena and Justin. I totally messed up that name.
Rosarena?
Thank you. Yep. And Justin Turner, while also adding some bullpen help with Yimi Garcia. What's your thoughts on those moves?
The Arozarena trade is huge. I love that. What I read and did a little bit of research on it is we basically sent the Rays 2 very low-level prospects that probably aren't going to see the majors for a couple years, and this is absolutely a win-now move for them. And granted, Arozarena started the season really rough, but since June, he's been incredibly hot at the plate. I believe, let's see, since the start of June, he's slashing 284, 397, and 507. So he's been a really hot bat. So I'm super excited to see him with the Mariners. Justin Turner, that trade was kind of weird for me. I mean, it's nice to have that extra bat, but he hasn't been like the Justin Turner of old kind of thing. But he's still an extra bat that can help a lot, maybe a good bench piece. Yimi Garcia is also a good ad, taking from a team that's selling. He's sort of taking. They haven't they haven't announced what his role will be on the team yet, but I believe so far he's come in for relief in the 2 games that he's played with them, and so he's sort of taking the place of reliever Ryan Stanek, who they traded away to the Mets for an outfield prospect. But I do want to say the Yimi Garcia trade, the Mariners had to give up Jonathan Clase, who was one of their top prospects who had actually seen time in the majors this year. So a bit of a hit, but getting Arozarena and Turner, I think, is okay for that.
And then in our group chat, we brought up the Jazz Chisholm trade to the Yankees. So
Yeah.
I want to throw this out there. I made one of our guys isn't a baseball fan, so he asked us to explain it. I described it as Odell Beckham Jr. going to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you believe in that?
I would say that's a fair comparison. I mean, they're both big personalities in their sports. They're both going to, I think, what you can argue is the premier franchise in each of those respective sports. So I'd say it's a pretty fair comparison. Chisholm is definitely a personality. I actually kind of I like the trade to see him in New York. I think the first game there he played third base and picked up a couple hits, which I don't know if he played third base with the Mariners. I have to get fact checked on that. Or Mariners, third
Marlins.
base with the Marlins. Thank you. So I would have to get fact check on that, but I believe this is his first time playing third base, and from what I heard, he did pretty well. So who knows? Maybe the Yankee season is saved by Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say on the OBJ comparison is at least Jazz has like a chance to be a better play. I have a not as rocky career as OBJ did, but yeah, I get personality wise, that's definitely close. But one that caught my eye here, 2 World Series contenders making a deal: the Phillies and the Orioles. The Phillies, Orioles.
I cannot get that right.
I know. I always said that as a kid, and I just never
Cannot
can
get
shake
that
it.
right.
The Orioles, the Phillies acquired outfielder Austin Hayes, and they sent Sir Anthony Dominguez and center fielder Christian Pache to the Baltimore Orioles. So
Orioles.
Orioles.
God, I read it and it just goes Orioles. I can't stop it. That's what I called them all the way up to like high school. So it's hard for me to break that, but. Yeah, I mean, 2 World Series contenders right there making a deal. What do you guys think?
Orioles needed to help the rotation, or not the rotation, but bullpen rotation, pitching, clearly. So I don't hate it. Hayes has kind of been the odd man out in the outfield. They have a lot of talent when it comes to outfield. Christian, however, also plays outfield, so it doesn't really help it too much. I like the move for the Phillies, though. Austin Hayes was one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Hasn't fully flourished there, but now you throw him in a Phillies lineup with Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos. I like the deal for both, and it wouldn't surprise me if it helps push either one of them over. But the one thing about the Orioles, they also went out and made a deal with the Tampa Bay Rays to get Zach Eflin. Very nice deal.
I was literally just going to bring that up.
All right, go ahead.
That quite possibly could be one of the biggest deals that will fly under the radar for this deadline, because to me, that signals that they're not going after Garrett Crochet, who we'll get to Garrett Crochet in a minute, okay? But Zach Eflin going to the Orioles is going to be huge, because those are 2 teams that both churn out pitching, and the Rays have done an excellent job with Zach Eflin. And it'll be interesting to see how he performs with the Orioles, considering it's an interdivision trade. Let's see, what is another trade that caught my eye?
Well, we were going to talk about the rumors. If that's
we're just going to go to the rumors? That's fine.
Yeah, so
I'm cool with that.
Colton, you got those names?
Oh yeah. So the MLB rumors I got down here: Blake Snell of the Giants is talked about as pretty much somebody who's going to get traded today, and then you have Jack Flaherty of the Tigers, and then this one's not as. There's been some stuff that's come out recently about Garrett Crochet on the White Sox that he probably will not get moved. But what do you guys think? When are we going to get this moved? Because time is ticking, and where are they getting moved?
Gary, you want to go or you want me to?
If you want to take it, you can.
Right. Yeah. Snell, I've seen kind of bounce all over. I'm hearing Flaherty to the Yankees, which does not excite me at all. I'm hoping that's wrong. The Mets want pitching help, but apparently their GM already came out and said they're not interested in Flaherty, which blew my mind on that mindset, because Flaherty, I think, is another arm piece that could help everything. But the Crochet thing is absolutely hilarious, and I'll let Garrett go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
That's a fellow Garrett.
I don't know what the hell Crochet is doing. If it were me personally, I would want to get out of the South Side as quick as possible, and he has put up the numbers to do that, to be traded to a contending team. And then he comes out about a week before the trade deadline and says if he is to get traded, he wants to get a contract extension as an incentive for pitching for a team in the postseason, which, if I remember correctly, almost immediately tanked his trade value because no team wants to do that for a guy that's seen less than a year of service in the majors. So we're still very much on the is this guy a flash in the pan kind of thing. So that was kind of confusing to me from Garrett Crochet's camp, and I don't think he'll get traded because of it.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said it any better. Nobody wants to play for the White Sox right now. I feel horrible for Luis Robert that he's stuck there and looks like he might not get traded
Luis
either.
Robert.
So not getting out of Chicago makes absolutely no sense, and yeah, it blows my mind. So, but Garrett, I think it's time to move on to the Triple Threat Trivia if you have a trivia question for us.
I actually wanted to highlight a couple more trades that we didn't get to talk about really, really quickly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for it.
Jesse Winker is continuing his tour of the NL East, going from the Nats to the Mets. He'll probably play for all 5 of those teams at some point in his career. The Cubs traded the Cubs traded 4 Paredes from the Rays, which I think is funny because the Reds just played the Rays and now they have to play Paredes again, who was the Rays All-Star this year. Trade that went under the radar. Kansas City traded for Michael Lorenzen for a guy named Walter Pennington. He's not in my book, but I think that trade will also fly way under the radar. Quinn Priester from the Pirates going to the Red Sox, I think, is a very underrated trade. We didn't even really talk about the big 3-team trade that happened. So I'll just highlight that real quick. St. Louis, it's a 3-team trade between the Dodgers, the Cardinals, and the White Sox. St. Louis lands Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham from the White Sox. The Dodgers get Tommy Edman from the Cardinals and Kopech from the White Sox. And the White Sox get a bunch of prospects. So I think, all in all, a good deal for everyone. Lane Thomas went to the Guardians, which is another under-the-radar trade that I think is good. Yusei Kikuchi went from the Blue Jays to the Astros. I am scared. Let's see. I think that was pretty much. Oh, and Jorge Soler back to the Braves. So the Braves are probably going to win the World Series. I think that's it for the major trades that have happened already. I know we're recording this in the middle of the trade deadline day, so I'm sure more stuff's going to come out later today. But as for the trades that have happened, I think it's been a pretty fun trade deadline.
Is that a lock on the Braves for your World Series champion, or?
It's not a lock. It's more of a joke. But it seems like whenever Jorge Soler is in a Braves uniform, they perform really well. So I wouldn't be surprised. They also re-signed Jesse Chavez, who Jesse Chavez. Go look at his stats. When he pitches for any other team other than the Braves, he is dog shit. He is terrible. When he pitches for the Braves, he is nails.
That's actually 100% accurate, but I was looking something up real fast. I have to throw this rumor trade out, not rumor, but idea of a trade out here just for you, Garrett, so you can laugh at it and hang up the phone as well, and then we'll throw to the trivia to you. The Reds will get Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert.
Okay.
The White Sox will get Novo Marte, Rhett Lauder, Cam Collier, Luke Holman, and Ricardo Cabrera. How quickly would you hang up the phone? Yeah, exactly. All right.
He wouldn't have answered.
Let's get to the trivia.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my trivia question for today. It's the trade deadline today. We just spent 18 minutes talking about it. It's one of the biggest days in the MLB season.
I can't wait for basketball season. I actually have a chance at this game.
So, over the past few years, we've had some pretty historic deals happen at deadlines. So, my question for you today is, what did MLB.com rank as their number 1 biggest trade from last year's deadline?
Okay, we're all gonna be stumped because I don't remember any trades from last year.
I will give you a hint since you're all stumped. It's a big name you all know, and it is a pitcher.
Oh, Max Scherzer.
Yes.
Yeah.
MLB.com has Max Scherzer from the Mets to the Rangers for infield prospect Luis Angel Acuna as their number 1 trade from 2023's trade deadline last year. He basically led the Rangers to their first World Series, so I'd have to agree that's a pretty big trade. So
Josh,
a point to Josh.
You are now in the lead.
Not only am I in the lead, I just beat you again. How does that make you feel, Colton?
I didn't expect to win. It was baseball. like,
I knew I wasn't going to get anything either.
I've checked out on trivia until we get to October here. I guess I can get some football trivia maybe, but
That should be right around the corner.
Speaking of football, what a segue. It's time to talk about the NFL, previewing our NFL season. We are now on our 4th ranked division in the NFL, and this was actually a tie. I forgot to mention this last week. We talked about the NFC West last week. The NFC West and AFC South tied, and I gave preference to the South because we talked about the NFC team before. I wanted to split things up. So, anyways, if you guys do not know, that is the Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course the Houston Texans. And it's a division full of question marks.
For sure.
Will the Texans back up their breakout season? What Jags team are we getting? What are the Titans legit? Is Anthony Richardson going to stay healthy, and will the Colts perform well? So there's a lot of questions. We're going to try and maybe answer some today. But to be honest, for me, I don't know if I have a definitive answer for any of those questions. But do we want to get started?
Yep.
All right. So starting with the Tennessee Titans, they went 6-11 last year, and that was their first time finishing last in the AFC South since 2015.
It's crazy. So yeah, Titans, like you mentioned, Colton, they went 6-11. They fired their head coach, Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel.
My bad.
You're
My
good.
bad. All right. So he went 6-18 in his final 24 games after starting his career 8-27. What a turnaround that is, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a turnaround.
So they bring in their new head coach, who we are all familiar with.
May have heard of him.
Yeah, Brian Callahan. So looking forward to that. So their additions that they added this offseason are Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, L'Jarius Sneed, Awuzie, Lloyd Cushenberry.
Cushenberry.
Cushenberry. J.C. Latham, and running back Tony Pollard. And I feel like this is kind of crazy. They lost Derrick Henry, so I feel like how are they gonna do without him? Because he was a big part of that offense for sure.
They still got a pretty good running back room though, with Tajay Spears and now Tony Pollard.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But back to their offensive line, Lloyd Cushenberry. Am I saying Cushenberry? All right.
Those names are undefeated against him.
Oh yeah. So he's one of the best pass blocking centers. He was one of the best pass blocking centers last season.
Yeah.
And J.C. Latham, first round pick out of Alabama. So I feel like these are two really good pickups for the Tennessee offense, because one of the key factors this offseason was they had to improve on their offensive line. I mean, they ranked 30th last year. So I feel like coming into this season, though, the biggest key is, will they be able to protect Will Levis? And I'm excited to see what Ridley and Tyler Boyd can do, because I feel like these are going to be really good weapons for Will Levis. And, of course, Brian Callahan, he's worked with many quarterbacks in his career. He knows how to develop quarterbacks. I mean, you've seen it in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow leading them to the Super Bowl, and he's had history with Peyton Manning too. So it'll be interesting to see how he'll try to develop Will Levis. But I feel like they could be on the road to some good things this upcoming season.
I think they're my favorite. Like, they're one team I want to watch this year.
Yeah.
Like, the wide receiver core with experience to help that young guy. I love Tajay Spears. I wanted the Bengals to draft him. In case you haven't caught on, I want Bengals to draft running backs, and they continue not to draft running backs. Right. So it's a different story.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, no. But it's an interesting theory of how good this team could be.
Yeah.
Because on paper, I was looking at it beforehand. I was like, this team could be like a AFC wildcard team.
I went through the same exact process.
And then I looked at their schedule. Yeah. And when I started going through their schedule, I kind of disagreed.
Yeah, I said it before the show. I feel like this is a team that is going to win some games that they probably shouldn't have, and they're going to lose some games that they probably shouldn't have, and it's going to be kind of a learning curve. But I think it really all comes down to what Brian Callahan is able to scheme up as a head coach, and what Will Levis does as a second-year QB. And I think there's a high ceiling, but there's also a low floor for this team, and I think they'll just kind of end up somewhere in the middle. But I really like fixing that secondary, as that was a big issue on the defensive end last year. That takes a lot of pressure off of different areas of your defense. Getting L'Jarius Sneed, who we mentioned we didn't think was a huge loss for the Chiefs, but I think he is a big get for the Titans because, like I said, that secondary was very weak last year.
Yep.
So they also got a Awuzie, who looked like a shell of his former self, but he was coming off an injury. So it might take a year to get back, and I hope to see him thrive in Tennessee, even though I'm not a Tennessee guy, but I do always like the Awuzie. So yeah, I think they did a good job of addressing some areas of weakness. The offensive line you mentioned, I worry about Latham because they're likely going to put him on the left side rather than his natural position on the right side.
Right.
So I do worry about how he will adjust
Peter
to that.
Skoronsky is going to help that big time, though. Peter
Yeah.
Skoronsky is a dog out of Northwestern.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, like one of the possibly. We'll obviously go over to breakout players. I don't like picking offensive linemen, but I'm telling you, by the end of the year, you're going to know that dude's name.
Okay.
He's
For
an
sure.
absolute mauler.
All right.
Yeah, another one I would love to see in stripes.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one for sure. But I also like the Tavonjay Sweat draft pick there. Should have been a Bengal. But he'll add to an
There's an
already
interesting theme.
solid. Yeah, it's almost like we have a Bengal coach coaching the Titans that has similar interests that we do. But yeah, I mean, I think he'll add to an already solid core there on the defensive line. And can Cedric Gray compete for some linebacker minutes? I think the linebacker position is pretty weak on this team, and I think Gray could potentially already get some starting minutes early.
My biggest question for this team, outside of obviously Will Levis, will be who is the number one running back. I love Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good prediction there, but I actually like Tony Pollard. I mean, last season he had a good year for Dallas. He racked up 1,316 yards and 6 touchdowns. So it'll be interesting to see how he'll fill that role out for Derrick Henry. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of flack for Dallas, mostly because the expectations were higher for him. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this all plays out. How I mentioned it with the Jets, how the puzzle pieces come together. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't necessarily have a vision for what this team looks like.
But
yet.
overall, though, I feel like this is an offense that some people are kind of sleeping on
I'd say.
because I can see potential of them having a great year. It would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. It comes down to the coaching. What does Callahan cook up, and what is Will Levis? Where is his ceiling? What does he bring to the table behind
Absolutely,
center? But
yep.
moving on down to the Indianapolis Colts, and they finished 9-8 last season. They missed the playoffs for the 3rd season in a row. Josh, you took this one, so I'll let you take it away.
Very boring offseason for them.
Yeah,
They made like 2 moves and they lost 2.
Yeah.
They added Joe Flacco and they lost Zach Moss and Gardner Minshew. Their biggest thing that happened this offseason was Michael Pittman Jr. getting locked down.
Yeah.
Which I'm a fan of that. Maybe a little bit overpay, but I'm a fan of keeping your number 1 wide receiver. But the questions are very simple when you said it. Can Anthony Richardson stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if he can, how good can this team really be?
Yeah, I'd say. Did you mention Raekwon Davis? They also picked him up.
I did not see. Did they?
Yeah, they picked Raekwon Davis up. At least that's what the thing I read said.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, they were in the draft. They were the first team to select a defensive player, picking up Laitu Latu.
Yep.
At 15, which is adding a dynamic edge rusher to a stacked defensive line on this team. They also got a Donnie Mitchell at wide receiver in the 2nd round. A player I wouldn't have minded to be on the bench. Wow, that's the theme of the episode. That's just the theme of the episode.
I'm about to say, I'm going to throw it out here. That wide receiving core, and we've talked about it, that could be a very sneaky wide receiver core with 80 Mitchell, Pittman, and Downs.
Yeah.
I like that, but can Richard can he stay healthy?
That's what it comes down to, and you got Joe Flacco filling in for him, but I don't think he's better than Gardner Minshew.
The magic's gone
we already
there.
saw.
It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen again.
Yeah. I mean, just like you guys, my biggest question is, can Anthony Richardson stay healthy and potentially become the franchise QB of the Indianapolis Colts? I mean, just looking at his game, though, he can run the ball. He has good arm strength. But I feel like if that secondary holds up and Richardson, Mitchell, and Pittman, if they can contribute to the offense this season, I feel like this is another offense that that lots of people have been sleeping on. So it'll be interesting to see if this will be a comeback year for Richardson for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if he takes a step forward, they're gonna compete for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
But he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field. It's not like Joe Flacco doesn't even fit the scheme, quote unquote, when it comes to that.
This is true.
And what they're trying to build there. And I totally forgot to mention. I mean, another healthy year of JT. You get arguably the second best running back in football.
Yeah, and you actually get a full season of them this year.
Yeah. So they'll be an interesting team. It was just kind of a boring team to talk about this offseason because they didn't do much.
No.
But they
A lot of
do
internal.
have questions. But you know what? I do want to talk about a team now. Am I allowed to talk about them?
Sure.
Am I allowed to talk about them?
Just go right
Let's talk
ahead.
about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This guy's
Right.
such a poser.
Third year under Dougie P after going 9-8 and losing 5 of their last 6. That hurts.
Yep.
So they added some offensive linemen and Mitch Morse, and the big signings were Darnell Savage and Ronald Darby to help out the secondary, Eric Armstead to help out the defensive line, and Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas, and Devin Duvernay to give some weapons to your new franchise face, Trevor Lawrence.
Knew he's been there.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like now officially the franchise face. They paid him.
No,
You-
yeah, okay.
I expect top 10 numbers out of UT Law kind of money
Okay.
is coming. But they also added Mac Jones, which is an interesting little backup situation that everybody wants to tell me somehow he
Garrett
should
laughed.
be. Which some people want to tell me he should be starting. No,
He should be starting.
Yeah, there's people who said that he's better than
No
Trevor Lawrence.
chance.
Is this on Twitter?
No, it's 2 of my best friends who know how much I love Trevor
Oh,
Lawrence.
so they're just saying that.
Yeah.
Like you do the same thing to me. They're
Correct,
just pushing
correct,
your
yeah,
buttons.
yeah.
That's crazy. I never heard that Mac Jones should be starting over
Yeah,
Trevor
you
Lawrence.
didn't hear from anybody
they're
competent.
Just they're just poking at me.
Okay.
But
That's crazy.
It's a team that I still kind of question a little bit. I like the wide receiving core of Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, and Brian Thomas Jr., but I don't know if there's a number 1 wide receiver there. However, I could be wrong. Garrett, did you say you actually really like Brian Thomas Jr.?
Yeah, I was going to throw it to him.
Yes, I do like Brian Thomas Jr.
Do you think he can be a number 1?
I think he has the potential to be. I'd have to defer to you because I'm not a secondhand Jags fan, but what he did at LSU when obviously the wide receiver 1 last year was Malik Neighbors, but just having that presence allowed him to rack up yards and stuff, and teams kind of forgot about him. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs if he does get that wide receiver 1 opportunity with the Jags, which I can definitely see him having wide receiver 1 potential with Trevor Lawrence throwing to him.
I think the biggest question, though, for the team is can ETN run the ball? Because ETN could not run the ball last year, and
Right.
they failed. The year before that, ETN could run the ball, and they looked like one of the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
I need ETN to be ETN.
It would probably help with a healthy Trevor Lawrence taking a little bit of the pressure off of ETN as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trevor's a dog. I don't care. There's not 10 quarterbacks better in the NFL, and I will go to the grave saying that. And he has potential to be that. When we were debating last week off camera, we were talking about top 5 quarterbacks. I think Trevor Lawrence has the potential to be that 5th quarterback that we all talk about.
I would agree to that.
For sure.
I would agree to that. He has the potential. He's just got to show it this year.
He does.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
He does. He does.
But yeah, I mean, I like the Brian Thomas. I mean, LSU wide receiver, kind of just got to expect them to be good at this point. But I'm sure that Malik Neighbors was LSU, right, too?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So it'll be interesting to kind of see those two, how they both kind of develop in the NFL. But I'll blindly say that this guy's going to break out because the odds are in his favor.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if Trevor Lawrence can try to stay healthy, though, I feel like he can potentially be a really good quarterback this upcoming season. I'm curious to see how Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. will be for him on the offense because I feel like they can be really good factors. So overall, I'm just excited to see what they got.
I'm gonna say this now. There's a lot of questions, but the wide receiver positions in this division are very fun. They're like this.
Definitely.
These are
Yeah.
the teams that are like gonna be sneaky good fun to play in Madden because the
Yeah.
wide receiver talent's there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this
how this division, how they all play against each other, and it's a fun division. It really is a fun division. That's why I kind of ranked them so high. I think I had them third on my ranking list, just because it's just a fun division. I don't know if it's necessarily the best, but there is a very high ceiling for really every team here, and there's just as low a floor for some of the teams here. So, all in all, for Jacksonville, I like the pickup of Mitch Morse from the Bills. I liked adding Eric Armstead to a already pretty stacked pass rushing they got there. So I think this defense, they filled the main weakness on the secondary, swooping in to grab Darnell Savage from the Packers, Ronald Darby, like you said. So at the end of the day, I think they did a good job of addressing the needs, unlike Indianapolis where they just did nothing.
Right.
They were active. They addressed – the defense was terrible, especially in the second half of the season there. So if they can actually have a average defense, because it was even bad the year they made that run to the wild card.
Correct,
Yeah. So if they can just have an average defense this year, that will be very beneficial in Trevor Lawrence and making that case for the top 5. But let's move on to the team I selected, the Houston Texans, because I have been a little overzealous on this team so far. They went 10-7 last year, their first winning season since 2019. And this season to me feels like the year after the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. They went from 0 to 100 real quick, and over the course of the season, and now the Texans have Super Bowl expectations, and they have a team that can live up to those expectations. And I remember kind of questioning the Bengals' ability to back up all that hype, as much as I knew we had the talent and whatnot. And I have that kind of same thoughts about the Texans, but I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine in the AFC South. But let's take a look at the free agency, because they put in a lot of work this offseason and came out as one of the biggest winners of the summer, quite frankly. The big deal, of course, of Stephon Diggs to the Texans from the Bills. But they also added a skilled player we might have heard of named Joe Mixon at running back, who is definitely an upgrade from Devin Singletary. The defense is where we saw a lot of turnover, though, as they replaced Jonathan Grenard with Danielle Hunter. And then they lost Sheldon Rankins and Malik Collins, but replaced them with Foley Fatusaki. I said that right. Wow, I didn't think I was going to say that right. And then Danico Autry. They also got some DBs in the second and third rounds that can hopefully clean up the play outside of Derek Stingley, because outside of Stingley, that secondary was pretty weak. They lost 2 great linebackers in Denzel Perryman and Blake Cashman. They replaced him with Aziz Al-Shair. They got some questionable backups. So I'd say if there's a weakness on this defense, it's that linebackers, but I like that pass rush. Will Anderson Jr. is a dog. I like what I see on that defense, which was kind of a weakness from time to time. I think it's going to be, I use the saying a lot, puzzle. It's going to be seeing how all these pieces they had to slot in for other pieces that left and how that'll all fit together. But I have faith in CJ Stroud to avoid that sophomore slump. He is otherworldly. He showed it in the offseason. His IQ is on another level. And yeah, I'll let you guys talk now.
Yeah, I mean, with this offense coming in next season, Stroud, Mixon, Schultz, Diggs, Collins, Dell. Yeah, this squad is so
Is
loaded.
that the best wide receiver core?
By far, not even close.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just like you said, probably the best wide receiving core. I mean, just last year though, the CJ Stroud and the Texans, they shocked a lot of people last year with how well they've been. So I feel like they're going to be much stronger this year, and it will not surprise me if this team makes it to New Orleans this upcoming season. So overall, I'm just excited.
Not to talk betting again, because I'm not condoning betting, or I'm not saying
Josh
follow
would
the
never
bet
do such a thing.
or follow bets. But I've got 2 bets right now to win the Super Bowl, and the Houston Texans are one of my 2. I am all in on believing the hype of the Houston Texans. I think they take steps forward. CJ Stroud is an MVP candidate with all these type of weapons. Joe Mixon is a very nice addition for experience, and if he has a career year, I'm gonna cry. I don't know how anybody in the AFC South stops this team.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, one point I wanted to make about him is he's very used to poor offensive line play, so just a mediocre offensive line will suffice for him, I'm sure, and it'll be interesting to see that change from year to year for him. But I trust his team, and I'm excited to watch them cook. Is there any more you want to say about the Texans before we get to Phil's hot take?
No, they're gonna be special, and they're probably not going away anytime soon.
Yeah,
That wide
not at
receiver.
all.
I mean, I can't emphasize enough how good those 3 wide receivers are. Nico Collins is a absolute stud, and he also
Glad
went to
somebody says it.
He also went to University of Michigan.
That he did.
Yeah.
That
But
he did.
it'll also be interesting to see if this team will show up in big moments, which I feel like they will. I mean, last year with Baltimore in the wild card, though, it was an absolute blowout. So I feel like that's somewhat of an improvement the Texans needed to make during the offseason. So, but with this wide receiving core coming in, arguably, like we talked about, the best offense this upcoming season, I feel like they are going to make that improvement, and they are going to be, like I said, and we can all agree, Super Bowl contenders.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be shocked. But they're not going to make it because the Bengals are going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Phil's hot takes is on the TV over there. The music's here. Is it a live hot take? Is Phil going to talk to us?
I think this
We'll
is
have
a
to
live
find
hot
out. My ears hurt,
take.
though. I have a feeling Garrett muted himself. To
Yeah,
us.
there's mute right now, sir. We can't hear anything.
This is actually becoming. Oh, there he is.
All right, guys, I made it in
Still
for
We
a
can't,
live
we
hot
can't hear you.
take.
You muted yourself on mix 1.
All right,
There we
got
go.
me? Ah, wonderful, wonderful. I'm here for my first ever live hot take, and it's a good one.
Oh boy.
You guys are gonna love this. My hot take for the AFC South is that they will have the most wins out of any division in football.
So wait, you're saying these 4 teams combined will have the most wins?
Correct. Last year was
The AFC North exists, Phil.
I know. I'm a big fan of
I
that.
don't hate that.
I don't hate it either.
I
No.
could see the Steelers tanking our win total. I
Wouldn't
see a
surprise
world where
me.
that happens.
Okay.
The reason
I see the
think
Browns
Let him
this-
maybe
explain.
crapping. Yeah, explain, please.
All right, you got your preseason favorite in the Texans, kind of like the Bengals were going into last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your team like the Ravens, who are banged up, who had a hurt Lamar. You know, their season wasn't as great going into last year. That's the Colts.
Okay.
You got your team, the Jags,
know,
who are
I'm-
like the Steelers, who just
Let 'em
won't
cook.
go away. And then you got, I would compare the Browns and the Titans.
Yeah.
But I think the Titans have a lot of good upside. And
I
that's
don't hate
all I'm
this
going to
take.
do to defend myself because I have to go to work.
All right, have fun at work, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
You go out and save people.
Oh man, to say, I mean, 4 teams in AFC North are probably going to finish above 500.
I think if they don't finish first, they'll finish second.
Right.
I don't because I think the NFC North will be tanked by the Bears and the Vikings.
Hey.
So I don't know that was a good
JJ
take,
McCarthy.
Phil. I'll go.
You know
Oh,
what?
that sounded
I'm going to
like a
go
commercial.
ahead and just give my predictions on the day and year before
Yeah.
I blow my mind as I'm turning redder here.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got the Tennessee Titans going 6-11. I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing 3rd, going 8-9. I've got the Indianapolis Colts going 10-7. And I've got the Houston Texans winning the division and being the 2 seed in the AFC at 13-4. Pay attention. Texans and Chiefs will play each other in the regular season.
You say Jacksonville 8-9.
Yeah.
So you think Lawrence solidifies himself as a top 5 quarterback and goes 8-9?
No, I said he could solidify himself.
I
as
know.
top
I knew you said could, but
Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to get there just yet. I mean, you can't do that when you go 8-9, obviously. So
fair enough. Ben.
For myself, I'm going Titans. They will go 9-8. Colts 10-7. Jacksonville, they will go 11-6. Texans 12-5. AFC South champs.
All right.
I mean, I'm with Phil. I feel like this can be a really good division offensively,
Tough
like we
division.
all talked about.
Yeah, it's the defense where the questions come in.
For sure.
My standings, you're not cutting my standings off, buddy. Tennessee 7-10, Indianapolis 9-8, Jacksonville 10-7, and the Houston Texans win the division at 13-4, beating Kansas City at the end of the season, just like the Bengals did at the end of their Super Bowl ascension. All right, all right.
all right. So, here we go. AFC South breakout player. For me, it's Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker, I got Gabe Davis.
I'm going Will Levis.
Who is the next NFL player to get their payday? CeeDee Lamb.
Jamar Chase.
Brock Purdy.
That was wishful thinking, by the way, on Jamar.
Joe Burrow's haircut.
Joe Burrow's haircut.
What would it take for you to make the Olympics? Skyline chili needs to be able to be eaten in the Olympics, and I will win because I can eat all the Skyline chili.
I have been convinced by Alex and Soup that I will be a breakdancer in 2028.
For me, swimming. I like to swim.
I like
And
swimming.
then, last but not least, one sport we haven't got to talk about, and I think we're still a week away, unfortunately. Current NASCAR Final Four, Ben.
Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell.
I got Seabell, Larson, Reddick, and Blaney.
I've got Bowman. I've got Reddick.
Bowman.
I got
Bowman
Bowman.
the showman.
I
We'll have
got
to talk
Bowman.
about this after the show.
I've got Bowman. I've got Reddick. I've got Busher. And I've got Hamlin, and Hamlin finally winning his.
Oh, Hamlin getting it done. So
right.
his dad gets to smoke that cigarette or cigar with Michael Jordan. But that is all we have for today. I hope you guys all did enjoy. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, be sure to subscribe. We are going for our first giveaway at 100 subscribers. And be sure to follow us on Twitter or X at NorseBWPod. And yeah, thank you, Bill, for all that you do. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, NKU Media Services. Thank you all for coming on, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.